Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Heath, and this is the Cultra Podcast, episode 315.
From the belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury, Connecticut, this is the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. The language we use is fucking explicit and raw like the trails we run on. So don't listen with your kids! No kids. Cultra is brought to you by our Patreons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. I'm your host, Art Byram, and I am joined today by members of the Cultra crew. We have Celeste Fong Ding Dong.
Good morning.
We have Evil Becky Burke.
I am evil. Look what I did.
That's right. It's just a flesh wound. That's right. She's fine though.
I'm fine.
That's
Hello.
right. So missing tonight on probation, Jimmy Mack is not here tonight. And Fred Marola, who is always here. Fred's like always here. He's not here tonight. So, but I promise you, tonight is going to be a better episode than last week. And that's so fucking easy. Like we could like wrap it up right now and it would be better. I mean, we love our guests who were on last week, but it was a drunken shit show, right?
The bourbon was
it was like flowing like a river.
That's right. So we don't always talk only about running, but usually we have some caloric value. This was devoid of anything nutritious in any way last week, but it was still kind of it had its moments and it was still kind of fun. And
I laughed a lot.
That's right. I did too, because I couldn't cry anymore. So listen, but more than that, today we have two special guests, one coming back for his probably his 112th time back on the episode, back on the
this
podcast.
time he's back in juggling.
Oh man, I'd be committed if that was the case.
That's right. I'm going to have Evil Becky Burke introduce our one of our guests, and that is
This is Brian Vanderheiden.
That's
You always
right.
have to whisper it. Always have to whisper it.
Brian Vanderheiden from Steep Endurance is here. And he's, so Steep Endurance has a lot going on. And so one of the things was the Tower Tag Challenge, which happened this past weekend up at Sleeping Giant. So we're going to definitely talk to him about that and some other stuff that's, find out what's new and exciting in the Steep Endurance world. But also we have one of the top finishing participants joining us, a guest that I'm sure everybody's going to love to speak to, and that's Aaron Heath. So welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So I was just, I was looking at the results, and I saw that Lila Gaudreau won the overall race. And I think maybe before we start, so yeah, I'm going to stay with this. So Lila Gaudreau was there, and I'm going to hear from you guys, but it appears that she just did her usual thing of just like fucking crushing
amazing.
it.
Yep, for sure.
She Lila Gaudreau it.
She did.
with a smile
let me-
the whole time.
She
Made it
was
look
probably
easy.
looking miserable, right? Like frowning and swearing at people and complaining.
No,
I
that was me.
offered to pay her cash to swear,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't.
Yeah.
need to
I
have
would
her
be like,
on
oh
if you haven't.
golly gee.
Really, I did. I really offered her cash. I'm like, if you call Ryan a little bitch, I'll give you money. But she wouldn't.
Oh, that's great to see that she continues that after, as you guys know, and as we've talked about, she ran Ghost Train, I think in like 15 hours or something like
Yeah.
that. Setting the women's course record there.
She's second
and-
female at Vermont, right? Or third female, and she was the first
Third at
unsupported.
Vermont.
Yes.
Oh well, should I even mention it then?
Yeah.
And which was
And-
her first 100.
But-
Tied for second.
And she was
I think.
unsupported.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
she set the record for unsupported. That's what she told me.
She
Yeah.
did. That's
Yeah.
correct.
She's a web of lies. You got to be
Yeah.
careful for that
And
one.
her
She-
and the other woman, the second place woman, they crossed it like the same time.
Mm.
Correct.
Aw.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And it was the week after she set the course record for the 12-hour at Notchview.
Which was like 74 or 72
or 74 miles. I don't remember. Something like that. It was something ridiculous like
I don't
that.
think
Yeah.
I realized that Nachu was the week before.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there were like, it was like it's another weekend and Lila's out winning another race and
Yeah.
doing another
That's
thing.
great
So
to see.
yeah, and you know what? I could have her on every week and enjoy the conversation.
Yeah. She's such a good girl. Like, she's sweet.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So congratulations to her. And then
Can we
oh,
sorry.
please.
Can we have Brian like explain the tower tag challenge?
100%. That's where we're going.
All
like
right.
Becky said.
I'm just getting
Who's
right
running
there.
this show,
Sorry.
Art?
No, Becky is fucking 100%. Becky is.
I just wanted
Don't
to like
think any
have
different.
because yeah.
No, because
sorry.
there are people who don't know where Connecticut is on the map who are listening.
But it's a unique race. I felt
it
like
is.
it was listen.
It is, yes.
I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, go on.
No, you're right, Beck. You're right. So, Brian, maybe you could give us kind of a rundown or a run up and down of what the race was all about and where it's held.
So the idea for the race came about last December. My friend and member of the steep endurance racing team, Tom Stardai, lives pretty close to Sleeping Giant, and he kept posting on his Strava tower tags. And I knew he was talking about Sleeping Giant. And so I actually, in all the years I've lived in Connecticut, I had never run a Sleeping Giant previously to that.
Mm.
So I came over in late December and ran in there, loved the place. Ran a couple more times with my son in there as we were preparing for a race out west. And I was like, we gotta do a race here. And so one of the ideas for a race was the Tower Tag Challenge, which came from Tom's Strava post. And so he kind of planted that idea in my brain.
Leave it to Tom.
And the Tower Path, it's a mile and a half up, about 600 feet invert, then a mile and a half down, but it's basically carriage road. Super runnable. It's not super steep. The fast people can run the whole thing. But it's just a good way to kind of get the community out, and you're just constantly going up and down about basically every 30 to 45, 50 minutes. We started at the pavilion in the park, so that kind of added a little bit of extra to each loop. It's just easier to put the aid station there and have a little cover in case it rained. But it turned out to be a great event. The weather was pretty good that day for December. And I think we had about maybe 110 runners on race day.
Wow, that's great.
Very good. So
and as you were talking, I guess we can go down a little bit of the rundown of the race. In the 4 hour, I think we had 4 or 5 runners on the men's side do seven laps, which is just short of 20 miles. So essentially they're doing, between 30 and 35 minutes every lap. And then I think we had 3 or 4 women that did 6 loops. And then in the 8 hour, Lila was the only one to do 14 loops. And she still had she had 31 minutes when she finished, although she was doing like high 30s for the last couple of loops. So I don't think she would have made it unless she really pushed it.
Yes.
But there were a couple loops in the beginning where the fastest runners were doing like 27, 28, 29-minute loops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good heavens.
And
it's important to note too, the last half a mile up was ice and snow.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, and around
Wow.
the tower, it was all ice and snow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
we'd had some snow a couple days prior, and I didn't realize until I marked the course that day, and somebody also had sent me a couple of pictures earlier that day that there was snow and a little bit of ice about halfway up. we were going to originally have the runners go to the top of the tower on the first loop, just so they could see the view. But when I was marking the course and got up there, basically towards the top, it was all ice, even the little corridor that they have that goes up to the top.
Gotcha.
But
So did people go around the tower actually?
yeah, it's just it just went counterclockwise around the tower, and then I think.
Great. So just to also add one other thing, Sleeping Giant it's in Hamden, which is right by New Haven. So it's it's basically near, more or less near the coastline.
Yep.
And Sleeping Giant is one of probably, I would easily put it in the top 5 running destinations in the state.
Absolutely.
I'd put like probably, Castle Craig, the AT, Ragged Mountain, maybe Penwood, and a couple others out there. But it's a top running destination. The things outside of the trail are pure trap rock, brutal, really, some of the toughest and most beautiful running that we have in the state. So, and the Carriage Trail is a destination which people will drive into Connecticut from New York to actually come and hike this trail. So the Carriage Trail, I took my company there. I led my company on an outing, to bring everybody up to the tower. So
in the summer, the place is absolutely packed.
Yeah,
Packed.
the parking lot regularly, fills to capacity. It's kind of like for people who are familiar with Bear Mountain in New York, this is like Connecticut's Bear Mountain, I would say.
Yep, that's a good analogy. Yep, good.
So okay, Brian, thank you for that. And let me ask you, has anybody done, to your knowledge, have other races been held there?
It's funny you say that. I don't think that there's been any official races that have been held there. I was actually talking to somebody from the Sleeping Giant Park Association on that day, and he was talking to me about some race they used to hold, around Thanksgiving, and it used to be kind of a fun run type thing where they went across some of the streams in the bottom of the park. And he was describing it as being pretty similar to Leatherman's Loop, which is just over the border in New York. This guy had to have been like 75 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how long ago that race was, but to my knowledge, I don't think there's been any official races in Sleeping Giant before.
Yeah, I've certainly not heard of any trail races there. The other notable thing about Sleeping Giant is, I'm going to guess that it was probably 7 years ago, where a tornado came through there.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody knows offhand the year.
2018, I think, maybe. That's
okay.
About right.
Yeah. So, and that devastated the place. It was knocked out for almost a year, I think, shutting it down. But it also showed a lot of resiliency of the community, because I know that a bunch of us got together, did fundraising to help restore this, because it was destroyed like you've never seen a place destroyed. I mean, it was like Mount St. Helens destroyed, like whole sections where trees were cut off, and widowmakers all over the place, and it was not safe to go through.
Wow.
And so their support group that they have there, they're the people who take care of the place there. It's second, it's a top level organization there. So
it's fun. You mentioned that the park is run by the state of Connecticut Deep, but there is the Sleeping Giant Park Association, which has been around for years to, help acquire land. They acquired land to, help preserve the area. And they have a pretty big association where I think between April and like November, they do a trail maintenance day every Sunday. And they have members that come out every single weekend, that trail crew, and do any sort of trail maintenance that Connecticut deep, state parks can't get to.
Hmm.
And so it's just
Wow.
amazing for them to see that. And we're, as a result, we're for this race and the race in March, we're gonna donate a portion of the proceeds for the event back to the Sleeping Giant Park Association.
Great, great. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. And Friends of Sleeping Giant, I think, is a group there as
That's
well.
another one
So
too as well.
yeah. So good. So okay. So that's a little bit of background, because I know sometimes we just go on and on about our local stuff, and thinking that like everybody from, who's in Colorado and the Canadian trail fishing magazine fans, that they might be, that they know where Sleeping Giant is. So now you know.
Sleeping Giant, because doesn't the mountain look like a sleeping giant, like the
Yes.
different peaks there?
Yeah.
It absolutely does. Yes. Yeah. It has like the profile of a
profile.
giant sleeping. You're right.
Right.
So lying down on his back, like he's a back sleeper, like
Okay,
not
yep.
side sleeping
Right.
or on his stomach or anything like that. I mean, we're not going to run up his butt crack or
Okay,
anything like
yes,
that.
good.
So you say.
Right
and
back.
in March we probably will. So.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So excellent. So Tom the Destroyer Starry was kind of the inspiration here too for this.
Yep.
So
And
now-
he wasn't even there. He was out of town.
Oh,
What?
okay. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, that's
no, that
right. Yeah.
asshole's in Europe.
Yeah. He was running like Slovenia or something, or
Yeah, they were in Slovenia.
They found
Somewhere,
some
yeah,
cave
yeah.
full of wine. Like free
What?
wine. Like it's just a cave set up with wine. Him and
Wow.
Julia. Isn't that sick?
Huh.
I
I
never
don't
come
know.
across wine when I'm out on trails.
Jeez.
Sounds
Yeah.
a little suspicious.
Right.
Gotcha. So, Aaron, it looks like, so I just want to also recognize John DeRosa too.
Yeah,
So,
he was an amazing runner as well. It's fun with Lila and John up there.
mhm. Now, did you run with anybody when as you were going, or did you do your own thing for the most part, or how did it go?
I guess mainly my own thing. I started the first few laps with Dylan. I'd have to look up his last name. I think he took, he's on
11th.
there. 11th,
Dylan
yeah.
Bell.
And yeah, he's a great young man. And I ran with him the first couple laps, and he had done some scouting of who had all signed up. So he was telling me who was who, and he told me that's John up there. And he was giving me everyone's who he thought they were, and talking about college runners. And Dylan was a college runner himself. And one thing that I thought was interesting was Dylan is 25 and I'm 50. So I told Dylan during one of the laps that I was 25. I was your age when you were born. I told him.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He said-
invented your age.
Yeah. And he said, oh, I was just doing the math. You're right about that. And
See, that's new math.
yeah,
there.
so that's that
they're
new math,
smart,
I guess.
smart
Yeah,
ass
they're
kids,
not as, yeah, they don't do math the same way these days. So it was fun to run with him. And then I guess, yeah, we kind of separated a little bit. He was trying to, just run a certain pace. And it was a little bit difficult to tell who was in the 4 hour and who was in the 8 hour. There was a lot of people that were running pretty hard, pretty fast. Brian always gives me a hard time and wants me to run every race, no matter what it is. Like it's my marathon, like I'm going for my marathon PR. So Brian was giving me a hard time.
You certainly went out slow.
Asking me why I was going so slow. It was icy at the top. I was being cautious. But anyway, I
I'm
started
laughing
off
only
slow.
because I can totally picture him saying
Yeah,
that. I believe he said that to me in many races
I'm
too.
sure.
Yeah, as he's sitting at the bottom of the hill,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So he did, I did start out slow, but sometimes, in these longer races that pays off. It was hard to tell who was in the 4 hour, like I said. I think there were dots on the bibs, but you couldn't see everyone's bib that clearly because, they had packs on over them or whatever it was.
It was also
And I
really
didn't know.
cold.
It was cold. Yeah. It was especially at the top. So I didn't know. I figured John was going for the 8 hour. Dylan said he was, but I had finished, trying to remember exactly. It was around 3:50, 3 hours, 50 minutes or so. And I was just heading back out and John was coming in. He was getting close to lapping me. He and Lila were both, I was watching them all morning. They were getting closer and closer each lap, closer to catching me.
Were they running together?
Dun, dun, dun.
Not necessarily, because it's John really took off at some point. I think Lila led for a little bit, and then John built a gap. He had a pretty big gap, and he was going faster and faster.
He had a gap of about like 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay, yeah, he was going faster. It seemed like, Lila was strong and just very consistent. So it was almost at the 4 hour mark, and John started to take longer at the bottom at the aid station. And I had even hoped, because I knew for sure he was going to catch me soon, but he didn't. And I thought, oh, maybe he was only running the 4 hour. So got a little bit of hope there. But then eventually he did catch me. And so he was a lap ahead of me, and I think
And
he
then you
might have gotten
tripped him.
close to about a mile. Yeah, they trip him. Exactly. Push him on the ice.
That's the way we do it.
But he started to spend more and more time at the bottom each lap. So that was to my advantage. I started out slow. I just kind of kept it consistent. I came in, there's probably, I don't remember the time exactly, but probably enough to do 2 more laps. And I was coming in right when he was leaving. And I told Brian even, I said, I think I can catch him. And I, tried to be as quick through the aid station as I could. And I did catch him at the top. I caught Lila again. Lila was a lap ahead of me still, but I caught back up with her, and I even had to calm her down. Said, "Don't worry, you're already a lap ahead of me."
Yeah.
And I caught John at the top, and he stepped out of the way and kind of motioned with his hands for me to go ahead and, you've got me. Go ahead and go. And I just told him, I said, we can do this together. I said, you can suffer, can't you? And he laughed a little bit, and he said he was physically fine, but mentally fading. So we ran together, and he's really he's told me he's a half marathoner and more of a marathoner. He really wants to qualify for the Olympic marathon trials with like a 2:18 marathon. We got to chatting.
Wow.
So we got down to the bottom, and we were going to do one more lap, and I was walking some because we had close to an hour to finish that last lap. So I was just taking it easy, and John would stop and wait for me each time I would walk. But then eventually he just took off and beat me by about 5 minutes, which I was glad he did. But we really boosted each other's spirits, and it was great to see that, that could kind of motivate him a little bit. But I was also thinking, if I wasn't so nice, I could have beat him. But anyway, that's how it played out. That's how it played out. So yeah.
I love that. Like, it does give you like this, like little, even if it's not like that you don't take the win, like it gives you this like nice like feeling
helping
of
each
like,
other.
oh yay.
That's what I like about this sport. I mean, ultra running and trail running, I guess in general, it's just it's a lot of camaraderie out there, and people are pretty helpful. I've had people kind of help me and lift my spirits at different races, and I already knew he could beat me regardless. It was fun running with people that are half my age, so and still doing okay. So that was
like holding your own and being like, listen, I could have, if I wanted to, I could have dropped you. But
I'm not sure about that. But yeah,
like
you just tell him that.
Yes,
that's what I'm gonna tell
I let him have it. Let him look, but he did tell me at the bottom he couldn't have done it without me, and that was really nice to hear. So, and his parents were there to see him win, so it was fun.
Oh,
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah,
that's really nice.
That's actually how Evil Becky and I met during a race. So,
we did, and it was that Art kept. It was kind of similar. Because Art had to go to the bathroom 505 million times.
Oh,
and he'd just stop and be like, I got to go to the bathroom. And I am all business when I'm in a race. Like the only time I'm not like super talkative, like I'm having fun, but I'm like, I don't stop unless I need to. I'm like really like efficient. Only time I'm efficient. And I just, keep going, and I'd be like, all right, I think he's gone. And then he'd like 2 minutes later, just be like, ding, and pop back. I'm like, how do you go to the bathroom? That one, how do you have to pee that much? And two, how are you able to do everything that you need to do? Because it wasn't even like, hey, I'm going to go behind this tray. It was like, I'm going to go in the bathroom and,
bring a newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably did.
Yeah.
And he was just, and so that's how we met.
Well, nice.
And then he trash talked me, and then he punched me, and that's how we won.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I just have never told anybody that part.
Okay. Well, good. Glad you could finally get that out.
I won't joke. He did not. So
very good. So, that's great that you find that camaraderie in a race.
Yeah, we help each other. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is what it's all about. Now, Celeste, you were there as well, right?
Yep. I wasn't racing though. I did registration, and then I walked up the mountain to laugh at everybody.
Yeah, you're not really about camaraderie. You're just abusive, right?
Yes, I was like, okay, how many people can I offend today? No, I was actually behaving because I was alone. I didn't have like any of the idiots with me. So I barely swore at anybody. Like I just went up the mountain and came back down and just cheered. It was actually really good. A lot of people were really talking about how much they enjoyed it though. Like, it was a good race.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. The next day we were over at and I do want to mention this. I think we talked about it before we started recording, but this weekend also was the wildfire relief race, I guess, or run.
Run, walk, hike.
Yeah, run, walk, hike.
Yeah, where we did a fundraiser for Connecticut Forest and Parks to help them repair the trails. The New England Trail, where the Mattabesit on Mount Lamentation. So
I went and hiked it yesterday to see the damage.
Yeah, how did that look, Celeste?
So I've never gone through where there was a forest fire before, of that magnitude. So I didn't really know what to expect. And it was different than what I was expecting. So there was a lot of the ground that was destroyed. Like the soil is just black. And it's crazy because there'll be one tree that's completely black, and then the tree next to it was completely fine. It was strange like that. And there'd be trees down, and you could still smell the fire. And it's been out now for a couple weeks at least, but you could still smell it in a certain part. And it was so close on the Berlin side where there was one section where you could see all the burnt trees. And the house was like right there, the neighborhood. Because I know my house was on the other side of the mountain, so I could see everything. But it wasn't it wasn't really worrisome how close it was to my house. But seeing how close it was to the house there, it was pretty scary. Yeah, it was quite a bit on the trail. Now the trail's completely passable, and it is open again. But yeah, there's a lot of destruction.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, one guy who was now there were a couple people who were at both events, but Alex Brown was there too. And I think I don't know if you saw Alex, Aaron. So,
I probably did up and down all day.
Yeah,
he was always smiling and high-fiving everybody.
Yeah, he was the one
I got a lot of high fives from him. I got
long.
a lot of high fives from him.
Yes, that's Alex. He's so
He's
fun.
so nice.
Yeah.
Yes, he was nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Gave high five every time.
Also somebody that, while I don't want him to suffer, but if he happens to be having a difficult time during a race and having a low moment,
it's a good growth opportunity.
I would kind of want to be in attendance.
Okay.
To see. But
I had a bad time at a race
with popcorn.
I know. Well,
he sure had a lot of energy.
That's
didn't
like Michael Presti.
Oh,
can you ever see him being like,
too.
Darn it, this whatever, having a little freak out moment? I couldn't see it happening, but if it's going to happen, I want to be there.
That's right.
I've seen him decide to leave at a timed race, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it today. I'm going home. I'm like, okay, Michael Presti, he's so nice.
He is.
Yeah.
Yes, looks like he was right.
I'm sorry?
Oh yeah.
He finished third in the 8 hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
Third male, yep.
Yeah. And he was at the fundraiser the next day.
Which was an event that he had a lot to do with organizing. So and
he doesn't exactly live right down the road.
Not anymore.
I would have said I would have said I would run and probably get in top 5, but I have this big event tomorrow where 200 people are showing up that I have to take care of. So, but yeah, he did that.
Maybe next time. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. No, he did that, and I do want to say, first of all, thanks to everybody who came out to that wildfire fundraising event. Cultra was a big part of that. I think everybody was there, except I think Jimmy was tied up, so he couldn't make it. Our Patreons, thank you to you guys. With your support, we were able to donate $500 to the cause. And then the event overall raised over $5,000. So
I was wondering if you knew the deets of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Linda had posted.
Yeah, I reached out to Linda.
So if you know that, then I suppose that I suppose I can assume that I did not win any of the raffle prizes.
No, she would have contacted you. Or given it to me.
One.
Yeah.
And you could have it right now.
I could, but I'm not going to tell you.
Exactly. I wouldn't blame you.
Beck, you did win you were the fastest through the sliding, the tunnel.
Art and I decided it doesn't matter what kind of race or event or whatever it is. Art and I managed to be the last people leaving. Not even like last, hey, there's 3 cars in front of us, but everybody's gone, things are packed up, and then we're leaving. And even that, because I wanted to do a couple more laps, and I insisted that we had to go down the giant slide.
I've never gone down that slide.
It's a good slide.
Terrifying. I wet myself a little bit.
Okay, well, I did.
But that was before you went down the slide.
Yeah, okay. And I wanted to go first down the slide, but Anyway, okay, enough of this sliding board stuff. So thank you to everybody for that. It's not too late to donate to you can go to I'll have a link to Connecticut Forest and Parks if you'd like to donate to their efforts there. So
yeah, it was great. I thought it was such a nice, wonderful event, and just always nice to see all different people. It was funny to see the kids come up because they do one lap, and then they'd spend 5 minutes at the treat table with their parents being like, okay, that's enough. Okay, that's enough. And they'd be like, no, one more.
Yeah, I think Bill Gibbs was at both events.
Yes, Bill was at both.
Yeah, Alex
Bill.
Brown was.
Sherry Bilby.
Sherry Bilby.
Jillian Ellison.
Yes.
Jillian. Doesn't have the same name.
And probably a lot more that I'm just probably the Hoops, right?
Yeah, Hoops and Poops was at.
I don't know if they were at the tower, but
I didn't see him at the tower. But
no.
Okay, all right, but they would have been there if they had signed up, right? So
you bring up an excellent point.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you. Yes. So Aaron, so you've done, this isn't your first time out there, right? I mean, I saw you have almost, just on UltraSignup, you have 69 results.
Yeah, so probably another 10 more than that. Roughly. I've been running ultra marathons for about 15 years now. Since 2009, I ran my first 50K. 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's just back the bus up. Let's just back that bus up.
Back in time a bit, huh?
Yeah. So let's take us back to the day you got your ass smacked for the first time. Tell us.
I didn't do it.
Where were you born?
Or not running related?
Yeah. Where were you born? Where did you?
I'm from Colorado. I'm from Montrose, Colorado. It's a small town in the southwestern Colorado near Telluride. And near the San Juan Mountains.
Nice. Okay.
A ranching community there.
Yeah. Now San Juan's, that's Hard Rock territory, right?
Hard Rock territory, yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't much of a runner when I lived there, but you were going to say, speaking of Hard Rock?
Yes, just a second. Who? Okay. Yes, sorry about that. We're catching a little, Celeste, sorry about that. I just had to mute you there. We were getting a little bit of overstuff there. So you can unmute when you're ready to talk. So Hard Rock, I just want to kind of mention quick that the lotteries for Hard Rock in Western states were this past weekend. Oh, yeah. Connecticut fucking struggled hard on this choosing. I think we have Bessic.
Did LA Branch get in?
No. The only person that I saw we have, I think we have 2 as far as Connecticut proper proper. I think Bessic got on the waiting list.
Yeah, he's something on the waiting list.
Yeah, and then Howie Brynan got on the waiting list for Hard Rock.
well, that's good.
Our Massachusetts people did very well. There were quite a few Massachusetts people. There was even a Rhode Island person, if you can believe it, Beck,
Oh,
right?
I know.
Like one of the 8 runners from Rhode Island got in that wasn't
Nice.
Cole
Lila
Crosby.
mentioned we had a golden ticket for Western State she was trying to get.
She's going to Bandera.
Yeah, oh, that's what it was. She was
Oh, that
mentioning
is
something.
Hold it.
is
Wait,
is
wait, what?
Bandera?
What?
She had.
Yeah, it
I
is.
don't know if Bandera is a golden ticket anymore.
I think she
Oh,
said,
it
yeah, I think it's
used to
not,
be.
but yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, I'd love to see her
Yeah, me too.
mix it up there.
Right.
So, let's see. Western States, I think we got Bessick. It was like 56th on the waiting list.
Okay. It's not too bad.
So does anybody know what the typical attrition is for that list? Is like 56, is that going to get you in? For some reason I was thinking sick, like, I don't
I
know.
think
How
I
many
think
people?
maybe 30 to 40 it'll get down to.
Yeah. Right. Because if
How
you're
many
in
people are
Western
in that
States,
race?
um,
Like,
370.
370. Because Brian, you ran it, and don't tell me now. I'm gonna guess that it was probably 2016.
That is correct.
Oh, look at that.
Jeez.
There you go.
wow.
Thinking going back in time there. Yeah, like a marble on a track, I think. So yeah, so okay, so how happy were you when you got in, Brian?
I was super happy. I'd been in the lottery, I guess, 4 years, but at that time I think there was maybe a little over 2,000 people in the lottery, and now there's over 10,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It is plus did they have that many golden tickets back then, or was it the same number? Or was that even a thing?
I mean, about the same. Yeah, they took about the same number of entries. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I
Well,
I I had a guy that I ran. Gosh, it was 2014. I had run the Vermont 100
mhm.
with this guy Greg Salveson. We probably spent 30 miles together during the race, and he just got into Western States this year after being in the lottery for 10 years.
Oh.
He was the only
Wow.
person with 512 tickets in the lottery.
Oh, yes. He was the guy from New Mexico, right?
I think he lives in New Mexico. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, New Mexico. Because I did see him. I was going to give him a shout out because it's like, yeah, he was the one person, and he was like second or third picked, I think.
Yeah.
So
No,
Wow.
he's run Hard Rock about 2 or 3 times though too.
okay, so we can't feel that bad for him, right?
No.
So, all right.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm sorry not to take away. I want to see this is like
No, those are
ADHD hosting
Art
company
and you
here.
know what? Art never does that. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know what's with him today.
very unusual. Picking up my meds tomorrow morning. Okay.
I was thinking that, but I didn't say anything.
True story. Anyway, so Aaron,
yeah.
so you've run a bunch of stuff then. So you were born in Colorado, and then
Yeah, and I didn't really start running until my 30s. I mean, I ran to get in shape for other sports. So in Colorado, I skied a lot. And I
yeah.
used to race mountain bikes actually when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Really?
And I would run to get in shape for those things. I would run in the fall to get ready for ski season, and I would run in between my bike races just to help. I always wanted to be that cool kid on the bike that could go over the big jumps and super agile, but I really wasn't. I just had endurance. I could go forever. I remember even sometimes on the mountain bike races carrying my bike over my shoulder and running up the hill so I could pass everybody. So I
Oh
guess I
yeah.
should have known back then, but I didn't really. I mean, I ran, I guess, a little bit in school. I did cross country in junior high and high school, but never that into it or competitive.
Huh.
And then I
Okay.
guess fast forward a few years, I worked in Utah for about 10 years at ski resorts. I worked at Alta and Snowbird for about 10 years
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
in restaurants. I would cook at night and ski all day, ski about 100 days a year.
Ooh.
And that's, I would
Wow.
also run to get in shape for that. And
And
then I guess in my early 30s, late 20s, I decided to go to college, and I moved away from Utah and moved to Germany. Actually, my mom worked for the Department of Defense in Germany. So once I got away from the mountains and where I could play every day, and had like a real job and going to school, I decided I was going to run a marathon. So I just started to run something I could do easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I moved to New York for a job after graduating from college, and I ran the New York City Marathon in 2008.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
no? That's
And
not.
then
Hey,
I did,
I ran it
yeah,
that same year. What was your time?
nice. I think 3:27 or something
Oh,
like
I
that.
beat him.
Nice.
Oh,
I'd have to look back. I think it's 3:27.
smackdown.
Nice.
That was my PR for the marathon that
Okay,
year.
what was your time?
3:08.
Oh, geez, that's
That's
fast.
awesome.
Damn.
Yeah,
Those
dang.
are
No wonder
both
I
good
didn't see you.
times. New York is not. It's so. I went the one year that I did it. It was so hard to navigate. Like
It
there's just
is.
so
There's
many
so many
people.
people.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome to
What year did you do
come
it
up with.
back?
That's a good question. 2005.
Ah, okay. So I have, and Celeste, have you ever done New York? Okay.
Oh,
All right.
2006.
So I
No,
did it in
there's
2000.
people
2005.
there. No,
2005.
way
Yeah.
too many people for me.
There's a
It
lot
is.
of dogs
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, but even that many dogs cannot like overpower the number of
Yeah.
people. No.
You know,
Gotcha.
And I
2000,
only
2000,
put.
that was it.
Oh no, go on.
2008 was the year P. Diddy ran.
Oh,
No,
dang.
2003 was the year P. Diddy ran.
Oh, it was 2003. You're right. You're right.
Yes, because
Maybe
that's the
2008
year
was when
that,
Oprah
Yeah, because I
ran.
didn't see him.
yeah, P. Diddy, I ran in 2003
Okay.
Yeah, I
and
ran that year too as well.
he fucking beat me.
Oh, geez.
No, he did not.
He
Because
did.
he had all kinds of pacers.
He did. That's right. He didn't beat me by a lot.
Well, that's
But
good.
I had it. It was my first marathon ever in 2003, and I just not shit the bed, but I kind of shit the bed. You know, I ran Philly that same year and picked up 17, 20. I picked up 23 minutes,
Okay.
like running 6
Oh
weeks
wow.
later. So,
Mm.
but at
Wait,
Philly
did you
was also
see P.
easy.
Diddy in the race?
Yeah, at one point I did,
You
sure.
did? Wow.
Yeah,
Did you
because
really?
everybody had signs and everything like that. And, you know, I was out because I ran like my second mile was like a 7 something running
Nice.
down the
Well, you're coming-
Verrazano.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So you saw him because he had a sign?
No. Everybody had signs for him. P. Diddy runs the city all
Yeah.
over the place.
Oh.
The place was just, it was,
Okay.
you know,
Like
he had
you
his
literally
own.
saw him when you were on the course, like you turned and was like, "Hey, P."
No,
You could
he
tell he was
did.
close because the signs were up and people were yelling.
He had like an entourage. I think as I was throwing up, he kind of passed. No, he gave me a smack as he went by me. I don't know. No,
2008 was the year Lance Armstrong ran.
Yes, yeah. That was the year Mike Keenan ran with Lance. So, friend of mine. So,
I'm like, wait, who's that?
yes,
Sorry.
Yeah, he was one of the Studville Athletic Club members. So,
Well,
obviously.
I thought she was talking
I should
about
have
Lance
known.
Armstrong.
Oh, and also congratulations to everybody who ran Santa's Run this past weekend.
Oh yes,
In
a friend of mine
Glastonbury.
had asked about that.
So, my son Jack ran, and
He did?
Shep Livingston won. So congratulations to him. So
nice.
You know, so
Check out the results.
Yep,
Scope
there you
out.
go. All right. So enough. I've been like, so
right.
how about tell us about the rest of your family, Aaron? So were they
wait.
athletic as well, or not so
I have
much?
to
Or what's the
interrupt.
deal? Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So you moved to Germany and,
Yes.
and you went to college in Germany?
But yeah, an American university, University of Maryland in Europe. They have a campus there
So
mainly for the
did you
military.
learn how to speak German or no?
Only a little
9.
bit. I used to think I would learn. I learned a little German, and I could get around and order food and the basics.
Right. Yeah.
And then I used to think it was like I would convince myself it's okay when I needed to study that it's okay to go to the bar because it's kind of like studying, because you could like listen to German and order a beer in German, and I would convince myself that was okay because I was kind of like studying German. You know, just like in normal college, I guess you take
Yeah.
a foreign language class. So I did take German. I learned it okay. And as soon as I got
Wow.
back and once I moved here, I've been here since, 2008 now, so I've forgotten most of it. But yes, it was
That's
fun.
so
I didn't
cool,
have to speak
though.
German in school, but I
That's
yeah, I learned the
very
basics.
Now,
cool.
where were you in Germany?
Um, First town was Butzbach. It's kind of near Frankfurt. Basically, I was near Frankfurt the whole time.
Okay.
Heidelberg was I lived in Heidelberg towards the end, but both of those are basically, I kind of forget the name of those states, but they're pretty close to Frankfurt. So I guess kind of central.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so I studied computer science there at the University of Maryland, which they basically have campuses. Well, when you're in the military, you get soldiers get school for free while they're in the military, while they're active
Mm.
duty, and then
Awesome.
once they're out, they get the GI Bill.
GI Bill,
So,
yeah.
I mean, they've downsized the military in Europe since I've been there, but when I was there was a lot of U.S. military stationed there, so there was a lot of colleges set up there to offer classes to the soldiers. And so
Hmm.
when I would try to go to class in Utah, I would usually start, skip school if it snowed. It just wasn't focused enough. I didn't take it serious enough. So I needed to get
Yeah.
away from the mountains and all that to really focus. And so yeah, I got my bachelor's in computer science, and then I'm a software engineer now, and I moved to New York back then in 2008 or seven, whatever that was, for the job
Okay.
that I got in Connecticut. Actually, I worked in Stamford at first.
Hmm.
So I ran
Yeah,
the
so
so
going to school as an adult is a great thing
Yeah,
because
because then I knew
you're
kind of what I wanted to do, at least, or took it more serious, I would say.
yeah, I didn't start school until I was probably 27 or so,
Yeah, that's a good
something like
age
that.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had a little bit of life experience and then
right.
I took to it, I loved going to school. It was awesome, as an adult. So
Good. Yeah,
um okay, so you're in Germany and then uh
yeah. I
you're
just
you're
started running there.
yeah. And what kind
Is
of
it a lot
running did you
different in
do there?
Germany? Like the
Did I like?
racing scene?
I ran a half marathon there. I just started with the goal of doing a marathon. So I hooked up with a group. It was a group that was like a marathon club, or it's a group that we're all training for. People were all training for marathons, and we would run every Saturday like a long run together, and I would learn
Mm.
from them like different training and things to do for marathons. I was going to run the Berlin Marathon, but then I ended up getting the job in Connecticut, so I moved out here and luckily got
Mm.
into
Darn
the New York
jobs.
City. But I
So
didn't
do
race
you
too much there.
do you remember how to say marathon in German?
Mm, Probably I don't know. I don't even Laufen is running.
Okay.
Um,
I'm laughing. Like
yeah, Laufen.
people say I'm laughing all the time.
Yeah.
Like pick it up, you're laughing.
You're laughing and
Right.
laughing.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Laufen. Yeah. But yeah, I don't marathon probably. I don't know.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
German words usually make a lot of sense. It's like
They're long.
Stumbleonen or something like
Yeah,
they'll
right.
call
There's
it.
right.
Their
But
names
yeah,
like escalators like Rollentrappen. So it's
yeah,
like I know that. So there's like a
right.
lot
That's
of
some good ones. Yeah,
yeah, it all makes sense.
yeah. So yeah,
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. So what was the culture there like for running? Was it um similar to the running clubs here, would you say? The
yeah. I mean,
kind
it was also
of
kind of short. I guess I was only doing the running for a couple of years there.
Mhm.
I was there for probably like 6 years roughly in Germany. It took me that long to finish school, and then I
Mhm.
came back. But I think I might have started running in like 2005 or four and then left in 2007. It was mostly a lot of military people that were in the group that I was with, but then there was, Germans and a lot of mixed couples, like a spouse might be in the military married to a German woman, for example.
Uh-huh.
Um, they were fun. They were all different levels of, experience, and they would sometimes have an expert in certain like nutrition or shoe people, and they'd come talk to us once a week. It was a good group. When I moved to Stanford, I was really looking for that. I was looking for people to run with. Um, and
The Adidas people were
yeah,
big there. Did everybody run in
I think so. They were, yeah,
yeah.
that's a popular brand there.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait a
But
minute.
yeah,
What did you call it?
Adidas.
I knew what he meant. No,
I think that isn't that how you say it? Like in Germany? Like isn't that the guy?
probably.
Brian, help me out here.
Adidas.
Adidas. Thank you.
Adidas.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
Adidas.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
All day I dream about sex. right?
Wait, how did you get that from that?
All day, AD, all day I dream about sex.
Oh.
Adidas.
How have you
Is that
never
really where it
heard
came
that?
from?
No, and then if you say
someone's name, but how did you never hear that? All day I dream about sex.
I have also never like watched Star Wars.
Oh
I've never
God.
like a lot of weird things that everybody else has done or seen or thought of.
And then if you say it backwards the other way, it's sex all day is definitely all right.
What?
If you spell Adidas backwards, it's sex all day is definitely all right.
That one I hadn't heard.
I never heard that one either.
Okay, well, there you go.
Which
people.
means you just made it up because
this is a Cultra exclusive here.
All right. You heard it here first.
That's right.
Wow. I don't know if I believe you because every time I like fully
write it down,
Art,
and it's true.
He's lying.
Nope, it's
not necessarily
true.
lying. He's
it's
telling a version
truth.
of the truth that isn't the truth.
It's a culturism. So okay. So I'm getting off topic again. All right. So yeah, so then you started running there. So you ran in Germany and then you moved into Connecticut. And did you tell us about once you got to Connecticut? You said you were working at Stanford?
So I did the New York City Marathon. I always, even though doing a marathon was my goal, I liked ultras. I liked what I heard about them, at least. They were more like running in trails or being out in the mountains and, maybe running all day long. Just, it appealed to me more than the marathon. The marathon, like we just said, is too many people in New York. It was fun one time. I didn't really want to do it again.
Okay.
No matter what pace you run, I felt like there's somebody right there spitting, blowing their nose. You get there so early.
And you don't like that.
I didn't like it. I think I've only run 8 marathons total.
Okay.
And so I did the
marathon. That was like the only marathon where it didn't matter first mile or last mile, where getting a cup of water at the aid stations was like juggling. You'd have to. It was a lot of effort, and I'm like, a lot of effort. I feel like it shouldn't be this much effort at mile. Like I just thought it would thin out more, and it just didn't. Maybe
right.
Although I did not have a good day then. That's when I cried on the last mile.
I mean, it was neat to run the course, and I ran a few other races in New York City when I first got here. I did the New York City half marathon, and the course has changed since then, but it used to run, I kind of forget the roads, but down 7th Avenue or something, right through Times Square. So it was just, I did a few of those, and then the marathon, I guess that was kind of the highlight of the New York City, at least those types of races. And then I guess in 2009, so a year later, I ran the Vermont 50K.
Oh yeah.
And that one, it was tough. I mean, I wasn't really ready for 50K, I guess, but it was more what I like running. I'm not super good at like technical trails. It's like roots and rocks. So that was like more runnable, but it's out in the woods, and really liked it. And that kind of got me going. From there on, I just really wanted to do ultra.
So what year was that now?
2009.
2009.
So 2008, I did New York City Marathon, and then 2009, I did the Vermont.
Was that a rainy year?
It was very rainy, yes.
Fuck, I ran that race. I
race. I had a friend that ran the 50 miler and lost his shoe or something in a big mud puddle.
Yeah.
And all the bikes are on the trail with you.
Oh my God. I ran that fucking thing. I ran 50. That was my first 50 miler.
Okay. Well, I was there that year too. I thought you looked familiar.
Oh yeah. That was a shit show.
Yes, it was a rainy year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was his rainy race. I don't know. I've had rainier races, I guess, but it's,
muddy and
but I've never had one that was more slippery. Okay. That one I had to go off of the race course to get up the hills.
Right. And hold on to the branches. And,
yes.
Yeah. That was my introduction to these ultra marathons.
Oh my gosh.
That day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Oh, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so but why did you want to go to? I mean, you wanted to go to trails because you.
Yeah, well, I still do mostly roads, I would think, but what appealed to me was the longer distances.
Mm-hmm.
even though it took me a long time, many years to do my first 100, which I just did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. But I don't know. I just wanted to do maybe another way to say it would be smaller races with like we were talking about the tower tag run and how just that sense of community and helping each other. I found that more in these ultra marathons or these smaller races where everyone, no matter what position you come in, is, I mean, it's probably the same in marathons, but it's trying their best, is accomplishing something. I mean, I guess maybe not, you can't say that about, that's not true of marathons. It's true in running no matter what the distance. But I just felt like the ultra community
there's a different vibe about it.
Yeah, different vibe, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very, very rare in marathons for that to happen, right? Like, it has to be like like a Connor moment, with this running with his buddy finishing a race. That's like, it's notable when that happens. Ultra running, that's really the norm, right? I mean, where
I think one of the few I haven't run it, but in one of the few in the Northeast marathon with that kind of community type feel is the one up in Maine, the Millinocket.
Okay, sure.
Nice.
Last weekend, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. Usually in December, though.
Yeah, that they run it December so that the Gators don't get them. So
okay, right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because they're frozen at that time. They're hibernating.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, it's important to runner safety, right?
So I have a question. So you did Lake Warmog.
Yes.
In 2022. How'd the race go for you?
That was a great race. So one thing I've done around here is I've done a lot of the races that have been around for a while. Like I ran Sybil Ludvington 50K for many years, and Lake Warmong was the first 100K, I think, for the United States.
Yes.
Been around really long time, and it's got quite a history. I mean, isn't that like Jack Bristol ran that course, and just a lot of the legends from the Northeast, from New York. A lot of these people that, back in the 70s and 80s were running much faster times than we do today, right? Like you would see 5-hour 50 milers, and they were wearing cotton socks, and those people, they were, such an inspiration. So I always wanted to run Lake Warmong because of its history. And that year just happened to work out where I had a friend of mine, Jesse Goodenough, was going to run the race, and he needed to do a 50 miler for some race he was doing. He needed to get a 50-mile race to be able to be qualified for some 100-miler he was going to do. And he wanted me to come up and run it with him, but I wanted to do the 100K because it was one of the, the oldest 100K in North America. I think there was only 10 people that year that ran the 100K.
Do you know who two of them were?
I could look right now.
You don't have to. One was me.
Oh, you were? Okay, nice.
I was. It was that. And Reagan Monkey Stuffer, if you ever listened to the podcast.
I knew you looked familiar. It was a great year. I thought it was great.
Probably when you passed me, that was another race where when I went by in the last lap, I saw Fred and was like, I'm not having any fun. I hate this. And he thought
Becky,
I was laughing.
It looked
and I was
like he passed you at least 3 times.
Well, did you see that 50 miler? Whoever ran the 50 miler that year?
Yeah, that person did really awesome.
Super fast.
Yeah.
This is one of the races that during the race, you're allowed to drop down, right? So I think I was doing the 100K thinking, I know I was doing the 100K thinking, I could just drop down to the 50, but I'm getting lapped every lap by the guy running 50. I think he ran like 6 hours or something. So then I had to stick into the 100K.
I just looked at it, 5:41.
Yeah. I had to stick into the 100K.
He was a nice guy. I talked with him.
Nicholas Mamrak, I guess.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he was very, and he was so nonchalant. He's like, yeah, it's a pretty good race,
I know.
Yeah.
Oh wow, and Melissa Perkins Banis was running as well. Huh.
Yeah, I really like her. I met her at that race years ago, and she was doing that race not long after having her baby. Which was crazy because she just stopped and be like, I have to nurse the baby. And I was like, what?
Yeah. I hate that. And then they come back and they beat you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that hasn't happened. So in my running career, I've been beaten by nursing women and men pushing double strollers.
Yes, nice.
It's both have
We
happened.
did have really good weather that year.
It was nice. I remember it's a really nice day. My highlight from that day was, do you know, have you heard of Trishul Churns? So
Yes,
Trishul Churns, I consider him one of my mentors in ultra running. He's helped me so many times, just giving me words of wisdom, words of advice. I think he's 67. He's run hundreds
he is
of,
a very knowledgeable man.
Very knowledgeable.
Very sweet.
And spiritual too, I think. There's just times where he kind of gets me more centered and just helps me. Like in the 100-miler that I ran, he just can get me in the right mindset. Like I might want to drop, and then I talk with him and I just back on, being committed. So I've run 200Ks, and both times he was there. The first time he just told me, he said, treat it like a training run, just because I didn't know what to expect for pace or how far I could go. So Trishul, during the Lake Warmong run, told me that his PR from 1986 was 8:47. And at the same course. So in 1986, he ran 8:47 at Lake Warmong. And here it is 2022. And he told me to beat his PR. He kept telling me every lap, beat my ghost, beat my ghost. And all day long, I'm just trying. He's pushing me. I'm trying to go and trying to, hit 8:47. And it gets down to like the last 5 miles, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I don't remember exactly where I was, but I had to sprint. I had to run 6-minute miles for like the last 3 miles, and I got 8:46.55. 5 seconds. I beat his PR by 5 seconds with him there to give me a hug.
Oh my gosh!
Wow! I had to run. Yeah.
So I'm looking at this. So that was quite the race. Also, I mean, that's an excellent story, and it is so weird when you have a time like that you're chasing down for that long. Right. That's like one of the cruel and unusual things about our sport is like with timed races. Oh yeah, trying to figure out how many laps do I have? Right. Am I gonna get a lap, or am I gonna leave like? Right. If I'm doing 30-minute laps and I come in and I have 29 minutes, fuck, I got to try.
Right. And I hadn't even hit 50K yet. And I'm trying to figure out, am I going to be able to do? Yeah. So it was pretty,
God. So in that race also, so Bill Odendahl was there. And Bill is now the race director of the 100K at Lake Warmong.
I'd like to do it again.
Yeah. And Joe Lasky was there as well. So. Hundo Joe Lasky. Yeah. So
I think he and I were both on the sad train that day.
It's easy to happen.
It is. Just wasn't
I remember they had deviled eggs at the aid station. I thought that was a little risky. And
that is.
I didn't have it, but that was one of my memories. I remember that too.
I can't even talk now.
I know.
Oh my God.
Art loves hard-boiled eggs, which I didn't know, and I had them for our 100-mile run that we did.
Okay.
And I felt really bad because I just kept I thought he was joking every time I crack open the egg, and he'd be like, ugh. And then I'm like, wow. After 20 hours, I was like, oh, wow, you really don't like this. Sorry.
No. Oh boy.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. I'll forgive you sometime. Maybe. Excuse me. So, Aaron, what do you have next?
I'm not sure. I was really, I turned 50 this year, and I had high hopes of. One thing that took me so long to run a 100-mile race was in my 40s, I started to even get faster in certain distances. When I think I was like 45, I ran a 2:36 marathon in Hartford, and I got included in their
New England's greatest.
New England Finest is what they call it.
Finest, yes.
Elite program they have. And so then I feel like I was really slowing down the last few years. but I had hopes once I turned 50 that maybe I could go after some age group records, things like that. And I was kind of eyeballing the 50K national record. I don't remember what it is, but once I turned 50, I felt like I started to fall apart. This year I was scheduled to run the Bear 100 in Utah.
Sure.
But as I was building up for that over the summer, I ended up bruising a metatarsal, a bone on my foot. I bruised my foot, basically it bruised one of my toes. And I didn't run much from August. I mean, I ran, but just no races. I dropped out of Bear and I didn't really do any other races. As a test, I did a 5-hour run 2 weeks before the tower tag, and that went okay. So then I did the tower tag, and I just basically, this is a long way of saying I don't have anything planned because I'm just making sure my body is ready, but I'd like to sign up for another 100-mile race. I want to try to get into Bear again since I wasn't able to. And then maybe try to get some speed back so I can, go for, to see what I can do as a 50-year-old now.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's always a challenge, right?
It is a challenge. Yeah, we fall apart.
Yeah. So Aaron, I got to ask you, like, as somebody who you said a 2:36, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So
6-minute pace.
Yeah, that sure is. Now you're much more than a casual runner by any measure, right? And so I got to ask you, how much of a like how much do you refine your training and things like that? Do you take your training very seriously?
In those years building up for that, I did.
Yes.
One thing I try to do is just have fun with it now, and also don't push myself so much that I'm going to injure myself. Just really now I just want to stay healthy and keep doing this through as I age. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to remember exactly how it all played out, but I think my marathon was getting faster. Like I ran a 2:47 or something. And then I saw that New England Elite program, whereas a 40-year-old, if you can do a sub 2:40, you could be at least eligible for it. So I really focused hard to get a marathon down below 2:40. I think like 2017 to 2019, I trained very hard. I worked with a friend of mine, Peter Laura, who basically is a coach. He'd give me workouts, and I did take my training really seriously. On the physical side. So just like doing these workouts, doing a lot of speed workouts. It got me so far. I mean, but I felt like it was a lot more abuse on the body.
Yes.
So I've kind of backed down from that then.
Yeah. So I want to ask you something about there's a couple of weeks ago, we had somebody on who was a certified nutritionist to talk to us about Alex Larson was on, and she,
that's a good episode.
Yeah, and we talked about some of the mega trends of the sport right now, mostly focusing on nutrition, but we mentioned things like, as you know, there's a lot of things that are really changing in our sport. Things like super shoes are out there,
yes,
which have dramatically changed the landscape. All the records are falling.
Right.
The idea of nutrition that's being, the David Roach effect, if you want to call it that,
right.
With the carbs and bicarbs and the advent of the feed being out there so that people aren't just sourcing their things from their local, store, which nothing wrong with that. But, now you have the ability to really dial in the nutrition, and there's so many different technologies that have been out there and examples of success with that. Have you been in touch with all of that, and have you applied any of those things to your training and to your running or anything, or what's it look like for you?
I haven't been really that in touch with the trends. I wouldn't say that I've kept up with all the latest and greatest of everything. I do try to make sure I eat healthy. And a few years ago, I tried to go vegetarian, but I got a lot of colds and got sick more often. So, and I know as you age, you need to make sure you have a lot of protein. So I'd say I eat healthy, but I don't, I don't go on any real extreme diets or chase any real fads. I have a juicer at home, and that's one thing I really do think sometimes I'll tell people I juice, and that's how I think I mean the other kind of juice.
That's right. Yes.
I think beet juice is a pretty I think that there's a lot of proven science around it helping with performance.
Sure. I gave that a shot.
Yeah. So that's about as far as I go, but I just try to stay healthy and eat healthy. I do eat a lot. So
like, for instance, for this, for an 8-hour race or for these 12 and 24-hour races, are you looking at the calories and specifically trying to dial that in, or, how are you approaching nutrition and stuff?
Eating. Yeah, I don't know if I do try to figure out. I don't do the calculation of how many calories I think I need to eat in all those hours, but I do try to consistently eat. And there's certain points throughout the day that I won't be able to eat the food that I normally enjoy.
Gotcha.
I do try to. So I got into kind of a rhythm with my drinking. Most of my calories come from liquid these days, and I try to make sure I drink every 10 minutes. That was just a kind of a way started doing that years ago, where just a way to kind of keep your mind off the clock. Just make sure you're drinking something with calories every 10 minutes. You might adjust it if it's a hotter day.
Yeah.
And a bottle would have like 250 calories or something like that. So you try to make sure you're consuming a bottle every hour or so, and then eating at the aid station. And I bring like almond butter sandwiches or on tortillas, and I eat apples during races. So just trying to always eat. But I think I probably finished races in some kind of deficit where I probably didn't consume enough. The 100-miler that I did, I felt like I did okay then. I didn't ever feel like I fully crashed. But at some point in the day, like the almond butter sandwich, you just can't tolerate it. You can't swallow it. And so there's some food that you just love on a normal day, but you just at some point during the race, you won't be able to eat.
That's right. Chocolate bugles or whatever. Some things are going to just knock you out.
Yes.
And it's like, no fucking way.
Why would they? They're so delicious.
I know.
I'm always shocked by that, because it's like, I'm like running and I'm like, okay, Pop-Tarts are the best fucking thing that ever happened in this world. And then I show up and I like take the first bite of the Pop-Tart on a given day, and I'm like, oh, fuck this. No. And it's like, okay, so my whole, I just got punched in the mouth. So my plan is
down the tubes. I know.
That it is.
I can't imagine eating not that I eat Pop-Tarts on a regular basis, but I like it. I don't mind eating them sometimes, like toasting them, but to have that during a race is not appealing.
Yeah. For me, it's got to be cold. If it's cold out, they're fine. If it's hot out, it's bad.
So
No, that's true. I think
I believe that I find it to be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So
that's really funny.
So you also ran, I just want to pick out a couple of these races. So looks like you did the Tesla Hertz 100-mile, right?
Yes, I saw you had Vin Cap on
yes.
Here. Yeah, recently.
Is there a picture? That's him that you're with, right? Because I looked up you up on UltraSignup.
No.
When Art told me that you did warm ride, I was like,
the picture you have on your desk. She was just looking in through your window. It's okay.
Yeah, no, a picture. I might have a picture from the race. I have my picture of like the
one of the
pre-race at
pictures
Tesla.
on there. The guy that you're standing with. I'm like, he looks really
on my
familiar.
UltraSignup?
Yes.
It's not him though.
Is it I forgot his name.
So there's one with me with Jesse Goodenough, a good friend of mine, and that's at I do Long Island Greenbelt Trail quite a few times. I've done that one.
Oh, okay.
I got into this rhythm where I obsessively raced the same races every year and kept like these winning streaks going. I won Sybil Ludwigton 6 years in a row, and I think Greenbelt 6 years in a row. The same, and those races are 2 weeks apart. But yeah, that's Jesse Goodenough, and then another one is like the race director from a 6-hour race in Long Island that I used to always do.
So you know Thaddeus?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah. He's
But,
who doesn't know that?
Yeah.
Tesla Hertz was my first 100-mile race and still my only one. I ran it, tried to do it again the next year, but I dropped out. I was having a really bad day.
Oh, I wonder if you did it the year Reagan did it when I was with her.
I checked. I didn't see.
You didn't see, meaning you didn't find it?
Oh, actually, no. She's not there. Yeah, she was not there.
Yeah, what year was that? Tesla in 2022. I ran
Tesla. No, yeah. And you probably be like, oh yeah, now I remember you. I put signs everywhere the year I went to crew for her, everywhere, in the bathrooms, all over the trees, everywhere.
Movie speakers. Yeah.
Yes.
That
was a great race though. I'm glad that
yeah.
you were able to do that. I really
Me too.
I ran about 40 miles of it with her, and I really actually really enjoyed the course because even though it's 10 loops, there's enough like twisting and turning, which I like, and like up and down, and like there's enough of the varied terrain that it keeps it interesting, and it keeps it so that each lap you're kind of, well, I did 40 miles. Maybe I felt different like 40 miles later, but we just kept it like really interesting. And I think that they also added on a little bit more to the hill each time.
Each time it does grow. And then those roots get taller too, or there's less dirt on the roots. I found that also because I guess each lap takes so long that the lighting's a little different or something's a little different each lap. So it feels different, even though you're doing 10 of them. It doesn't ever get, but I do a lot of lap races, and I guess mentally I get kind of used to it, but I don't feel like doesn't get boring, I guess. And I kind of like where you pass your stuff every few hours. And so it's convenient.
Yeah,
it is. I like that too.
But I like I guess point to point as well, but it's just nice logistically when you don't have to carry everything with you or have it all planned out in drop bags or that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So I also see the bus pajama romp.
Well,
you got to tell us about
Ultra
that.
Society? Do you know Broadway Ultra Society? This has some great history. So it's Richie, I'm going to butcher his name, Innamorato or so, but so Broadway Ultra Society, and I butchered it, but Broadway Ultra Society it's a running group. They put on races in New York City area since the early 80s.
Yes.
And they were part of, that's where Ted Corbett's ran with that group.
Sure.
Jack Bristol ran with that group. A lot of and I know we get to the trail mix-up or whichever race you're talking about. But, so I moved here. I live in New York, but I'm from Colorado, and I used to always think, oh, all the ultras are out in Colorado, or all the ultras are out in California, like Western states and Hard Rock. Well, there were these group of guys out here, not guys, men and women that running in the 70s and the 80s in New York City doing ultra marathons, and some killer times like the 5-hour 50 miles and maybe even 4-hour 50 miles. Some of these guys. There was Al Parada. I think he ran 50 miles backwards at some point. Just these crazy things these guys were doing. And again, like I said, wearing all cotton and just New York City was kind of a mecca or hub for ultra running. And Richie from Bus. Basically, he started this group. It had like its 45th year. They celebrated this quite a while ago, so I guess they're probably close to 50 years now. They did end that group, but so he puts on races all throughout New York metropolitan area as Broadway Ultra Society. Well, there was other groups are there too throughout the New York area. Like there's Greater Long Island Running and New York Ultra Running. There's like 7 different groups, and they used to have a series of races where if you did races within those groups, you could get points. And if you got whoever got the most points, it was the New York Grand Prix or something they called it, New York Ultra Running Grand Prix. And they had,
I like it.
And I think for the first 15 or 20 years, only 3 of us won the championship. Myself, Phil McCarthy, and Byron Lane. And so I got very competitive with those guys because Byron Lane and Phil, they were the first like very serious ultra marathoners that I met out here that were just, very fast, could run forever. And I was just thrilled that I could run with them. But then eventually I started to beat them. And so took it very serious where I would run every ultra in the New York metropolitan area just to get enough points to win this Grand Prix event. And I've won it, I think 6 or 7 years in a row. Finally, the year, I think it was around the time I met Brian, I finally got my head of like, I need to stop doing this and go do some more fun races, get out in the woods some. But so I did every single bus event. And I forget which one you mentioned, but yeah, they had trail mix up. So what they would do often is in city parks like Queens, and there might be a little bit of trail section in that park, but you do like a mix up like you do around the park on the sidewalk, and then you go through the woods and do like a lot of timed events. if you look through their results, you'll see Ted Corbett's ran a lot of their like 12-hour and.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the 2013 event.
Yeah.
And I just started scrolling through and I see Sky I could never pronounce her name. Sky Canavis.
And Tommy Pion was her.
Oh my God. So
married,
Sky, I ran with Sky in 2014
we had quite a group,
at one day at the one day in at the fair. Yeah. And she was out battling Maggie Guterall and just
amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, just going back and forth.
Yeah, she married Tommy Pion, and he was another guy that was.
Didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then and he was second behind you that year. And then I see Phil McCarthy and then Vinny Capadora, Vinny Cap, and then Ray Kay, and just there's all sorts of people here. So
so those were the people I ran ultras with that when I first, at least in the New York area, and I would do 7 or 8 ultras a year, mostly compacted into the summer, and I would do every event that they had. Meanwhile, Phil and Byron are running like 48-hour, 72-hour on other weekends coming, and So
did you ever run with Stuart Calderwood? Or do you know who he is by any chance?
The name sounds a little familiar, but I don't know if I have.
Yeah, he was a guy that I think he's got a running streak going.
Okay, well, yeah.
But he was more of I think he was more of a road runner.
Okay.
He's run sub 5-minute miles at the Fifth Avenue mile?
Yeah, geez, right. Yeah.
Like for like 20 years in a row or some shit.
Yeah.
Like that's
Gosh, yeah, geez.
And just quite an amazing, I met him just once, but he and I were on the same training log, a small rinky dink before they had Strava. Okay, we were on this training log together. So,
what training log is it?
It was called the running log.
Oh, okay. I used running ahead. I like that one.
Yes. This was running ahead was like, refined and fancy. Yes. This one there was a guy, Larry King.
Okay.
And this guy, Larry King, just had a site and it had probably 150 people on it. And it was like Twitter. You posted your distance, but it tracked it. And it was the first online log for running, and it was a great thing. So I got to know all the guys from there, men and women from, and mostly Central Park Track Club. So I'd get to go in. I went in and watched the marathon trials with them. But they were guys that were just running at a high level, and it made like running like 60 or more miles a week seem like absolutely perfectly normal. That's what you do. And you follow the advanced marathoning training program, the Fitzinger. And it was the best fucking thing that ever happened to me because I just thought that was normal, for the road running. So anyway, I don't mean to talk so much here. So
that's great.
All right. So so you've done a lot of cool shit. So
well, thank you, but
yeah. And then
I have a question.
Yeah, please, Beck. Go ahead.
So I'm wondering, so I know that you do there's some similarities here. You do a lot of timed races.
Yeah.
And with the laps and stuff.
Yes.
But you're also talking about like doing races where it's like you have a lot of success, you win, and you're like, I got to go back,
right?
And kind of going back the next year to kind of like hold that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's ever times where it gets not fun doing that, or where you feel like you're putting too much pressure on yourself?
I think I've gone past that now, especially I'm not winning as much as I used to, and I don't put myself through that as much, but I do look back and sometimes even regret, not really regret because it was a lot of fun, but it was a point where I was putting too much pressure. I had these streaks going, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to keep those streaks going, winning streaks, and especially when I was winning the New York Ultra Grand Prix every year, and I think the record was 7 years in a row, and I got right to 6 or something. And I was doing races that I didn't want to do. I don't always like to go to the city, so I was driving, traffic, fighting traffic to get to Queens to run 6-hour race in a park a busy park, and I was realizing I'm not enjoying it. I'm missing out. This is where the regret was coming in, but I don't really have, it's not really regret, but thinking this is my prime really like, I mean, I started in my 30s, so I felt like I hadn't really hit the prime in my running, but looking back, I was like, this is the years when, I should have been trying to do a Western States. I should have been, trying to do these things, not driving, to Queens to keep my streak going. And it was, yeah. So I think I felt a big like relief once I kind of stepped out and stopped doing some of those races that I was doing every year. Some of those races stopped, like they stopped occurring, like Sybil Ludvington, they stopped having that race. But other ones, I just stopped going and do other ones.
Because I've had that where I've had races where I've had success, and then it's like I go back and I'm like, great, and then it's become where I'm like, okay, well, like I feel like, okay, now I need to go back and I need to, place in this place again and again. And then it got where I was like, oh my God, I've taken the joy out of this.
Yes.
Or I've gotten myself so nervous or anxious that there's all this fun going on around me.
Right.
And I'm enjoying it. I'm watching it, but it's like I'm outside looking in at it and not being part of it. And so I think that just struck me that I was wondering about that with you. So I know that I'm like thinking of like Spring on the Trails, like the year that I did it where I didn't win. I finished and it was such it felt like a relief because I was like, I don't feel like I have this pressure. Nobody was putting that pressure on me. I was putting it on myself. Right. And it just felt like, okay, knock it off.
Yes.
Yeah. So, oh boy.
Huh. And anyway, thank you.
Yeah, that's such an interesting thing that you recognize there, that you guys just mentioned there. Yeah, because I see that all the time. The battle between just getting in the cycle of like Boston Marathon. It's the hometown race. I can train. It's January. I'm going to train for Boston. I'm going to go and I'm going to run that. And then, and then like I didn't run Trap Rock forever just because it was the same time as Boston. And it never occurred to me. And then, all of a sudden, 8 years goes by and you've done the same thing.
Right,
and
same race. Yeah.
It's diminishing returns, right? At a certain point. I mean, it can be fun to have the tradition going, and I can see both sides of it. But I think I've become I used to be more the same way where I would do the same races. I did, as far as road marathons, I would do those over and over and over again. But now I just like to try different shit for the most part,
Yes, good.
Because sometimes it's also scary that like, if you do well at a race, I don't want to go back there and shit all over it, right?
It is bad, yes.
Like, what am I, I ran the race of my life at Bimbler's Bluff one year. Like, it's so like, I'm going to go back there. Race. I'm going to go back there and just fuck it up. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but why not go fuck up a new race somewhere,
right. Yes, good. That's my motto. Yes.
Yeah. So, Brian, what's going on with Steep Endurance? What do you guys got going, and what's up and coming with Steep Endurance that you can tell us about?
Well, I'm getting ready to put out the schedule for 2025. Although one of the events, a second new event in Sleeping Giant State Park. Registration's been open for about, I guess 4 months now.
How many podcasts have you talked about that on? Any?
You're the first.
The fucking first, people.
Nice.
You've heard it again. A major culture scoop on Steep Endurance. So what's the name of this race?
So it's the Sleeping Giant Trail Runs. There's going to be a 25K and a 50K using and basically almost all the trails in the park. With the exception of a few.
Including the queue or except the queue?
Ones. What's that?
Do you say including or not for the queue?
No, we're definitely using the Blue Trail.
Oh, fun.
Are you going to bring people up the?
Are you going up the face?
Head of the head of the giant.
Yeah, they go up the face at mile 5.
Well, that.
Are they ever going down it or no?
No, never,
Oh my
never going.
God.
Thank God.
Thank
That
God.
would be like, you'd get arrested for that shit right away. You couldn't defend that in court. No way. Yeah, even with
No.
Marolo in your corner, you wouldn't make it.
No.
You'd
Come
be
on
fucked.
now.
It's going to be a pretty beastly type course.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but
20,
it'll be
25
epic.
25K loop. It's probably between 3,000 and 4,000 feet of elevation for each loop. Each loop at the finish will come down the Tower Trail. That's the
Okay.
finishing section of each loop.
Okay. All right. I like that.
That is
that
a
just
nice
sounds
downhill.
amazing.
Yes.
That sounds amazing. So this is really some of the best. Yeah, I bet you're going to find some people are going to show up for that.
What's the date, Brian?
Sunday, March 30th.
Huh.
Oh, I'm washing my hair that day.
Yes.
Is this
you're
like
in for the 25K.
How many is there like a 50-hour cutoff on this or
you have 7 days.
There will be a 12-hour cutoff.
Okay. All
The
right.
race will start at 7 and I think I've put in there that you have like 5 hours and 45 minutes to finish the first loop if you're in the 50K.
But if you know the race director, do you get an extra hour? Actually, you know what? Knowing you'd probably be like, you know what? I think you should have gone faster. I'm taking off an hour. You need to get through here in one less hour or else.
And climb the face 3 times.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in the 25K, you have 12 hours to finish. So.
Every time I run in that
12 hours to finish a 25K, I could do that.
Yeah. Every time I run there, I'm always amazed. Like between there and West Rock, every time I run in those places, I'm like, oh my God. I remember this was difficult, but I don't remember it being this fucking tough. It is always, I just love, and it's always you never come home feeling like a slacker. You just, you walk away
unless
from
Brian's
things.
told you that you were slacking.
Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah,
I'll bring you for a run there, Art. Just like back in the olden days, back in Steep Rock.
That would be good. Yes. Yeah.
I was just going to ask about Steep Rock. So you can't I think it was that you not able to do races in those. Do I know what I'm talking about? Up in the Litchfield County areas where we did the race and we went across the water and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's 3 different Steep Rock reserves. And we had events there for 3 years. It's actually where we had our first event. And they kind of decided after COVID that they were going to scale back and not allow any commercial activity in their parks.
Yeah.
So
I
now
was hoping maybe they would have changed their mind.
But I mean, I reached out to them like a year later, I think in 2021 or 22.
Yeah.
And still the same answer.
Hey, Brian, they'll be back. They'll be back. They're going to come begging and you just tell them.
They will.
Well, I don't know. Why don't you call Iron Man and have them have a fucking event in your place? See how that goes. No, I'm sorry. It's that. Yeah, I hopefully that turns around. So, but listen, Sleeping Giant is that is as great a venue as is available, I would say. So, between the views and the technical trail and the just the challenge of the whole place, that should be outrageous.
Yeah. It's kind of got something for everybody there.
It does.
Blood and guts.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, there will definitely be some blood spilled in that race.
Yeah. So
Brian, sorry. No, I gotta interrupt you at least 5 times. So you had mentioned earlier on about I think when you were talking about running, when you went and ran in Sleeping Giant, I don't know, you were training for a race that you were going to do. Was it out west with your son?
Correct. Yes.
Can you tell me about it?
About when we went to Sleeping Giant?
No, about the race.
So we were training for the Black Canyon 100K earlier this year in February, and so a couple of times we went over to Sleeping Giant, and first time I think we were there, we ran 6 times up and down the Tower Trail, and the second time we ran 10 times up and down.
And so did you guys have you already done the Canyon Trail race?
No, neither of us had ever done it. It was his.
But is it coming up or?
No, this was earlier this year that we did it.
This year. Yeah.
Okay, so how did the race go?
It was tough. It was long. It's a fun course. There's certainly parts of that course which are, fairly technical, but a lot of that course is pretty runnable. That, as you know, the trails out west aren't as technical as the ones on the East Coast. We probably had the beginning of the race. It's a couple of miles of road, and then you hit into the trails. And as soon as we hit the trails, it was about 4 or 5 miles of mud until that finally cleared up, because we had there was snow. There was snow on the course the night before, because the race starts at 4,000 feet and then trends downward. So the trail just became a kind of a muddy mess the first 6 or 7 miles, and then it warmed up. It cleared up a little bit, but it was fun to finally run something really long with my son, and
was that his longest?
That's definitely the longest he's ever run. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. I love seeing your son run. It's just fun because you see how much he enjoys it, and you guys it's something nice that you both clearly enjoy together. So when you said that, I was like, oh, so
yeah,
good for you, good for him.
Because of that race, I put him in the lottery for Western States this past weekend. He just had one ticket, but he didn't get in. I didn't put myself in because I've already run it, and if I happen to get in and he didn't get in, my wife would kill me. So
it was, yeah. I mean, wow, that's yeah. I mean, that's
really
like
cool. Congratulations,
honey. Good news. I mean, our boy's about to become a man.
She's already said she's not going back out there again. So.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
And do you two have any races coming up that you're both training together for?
I don't know what we're going to do yet
specific.
This year. I'm going to look at the Western States qualifiers and see what we could possibly do. Maybe Twisted Branch in late August. That's not too far away. So
yeah, that would be good.
Registration hasn't opened.
All right. Are you looking to run Western States again, you think, Brian, or?
I'm not looking to run it personally, but
get your son in there.
Yeah, if he gets in because he's autistic, I would request that he have some sort of pacer for the entire race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether that would be me for the whole thing or part of it or whatever.
Yeah. Good.
That's very awesome.
Yeah,
I'll run with him. He'll be like, "Oh my God, Dad, get me away from this person. I don't know who they are. They're driving me crazy."
It'll make him run. I mean,
away.
Just saying.
He's got some legs on him. No problem making him run. He's a little speedster.
Yes.
All right, those are all my questions. I will stop interrupting. Well, I mean,
okay. Nobody believes that, again. Becky.
Art looks like he might vomit.
I was just trying not to cough all over the microphone here. So I just had a couple things that I just wanted to mention before we start to wrap up here. Just to drop in to people to get it on their calendar. On February 9th, we're going to have the Real King of Pain, which is it's the same day as the King of Pain, which is a road race that's put on by Glastonbury River Runners. If you're not interested in the road race, you can come out and do the Real King of Pain, which is held at the same time. It starts an hour earlier. We run 10 miles, but instead of running 10 miles on the roads, We run 10 miles on the trails, on the power lines.
And you get a double pain when Art makes you go across this river where the water goes up to your jabs. Horrible.
How high?
It goes up to but went up to my jabs. Maybe it would go up to your knees. I don't know, but it went up to my jabs. So that was painful.
Yes. So there's two stream crossings and twice the elevation of the road race. Which is
when
called...
he says stream, he doesn't means
river.
like
it's the Colorado River.
Yes.
Well, it depends on how wet a winter we have, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the date of that again?
February 9th.
Yeah, I've never run that. I've seen you guys.
You should do it. It is so much fun, and it's not a race. We run up to the highest point of the road race course, and we set up. We assist with the aid station there and hand out water and heckle people at the top of the hill until we get cold, and then we run back. And we go and we eat their food. We go back to the race party that the other race is putting on, and we eat all their food because we're volunteers.
Didn't somebody didn't you try to hand somebody the water and they
oh
yeah, he hit it out of your hand.
Rob Amatruda.
That was really fun.
Ran up to me as I was handing out water and just knocked the water out of my hand and kept going. That was a classic.
I think I have a video of that.
Yes.
I think so.
You do. It is on film. I was like the kid who lost his ice cream. So
we also gave out ice pops one year.
Yes.
In February.
Yes, it's freezing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very cold at the top there.
It is. But it was fun. Aaron, you should do it too.
Sounds great. You guys really know how to sell it.
You could do the race.
There's snow that year, can we throw snowballs at the runners?
Yeah. Oh, I'm in for that.
Yes.
Is that a steep endurance cup, Art? Looks like a steep endurance cup that you had.
Art's on mute.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah, sorry about that. I tried to hit mute and I hit unmute.
But you had a steep endurance cup.
Yes. Oh, I do. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Yeah. This is my go-to here.
Yes, that's mine too. I bring it to all my races.
I love it. It's especially good for podcasts because it's quiet, unlike me coughing. So, I also want to just take a moment and recognize a friend of the podcast, Law Dog, who just ran the 2024 Devil Dog 100.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And looks like he finished 16th overall.
Wow.
Kevin was second female, it looks like. So congratulations to him on that.
Was he really? Wait.
Well, one female finished in front of him. So, but there were, I think he was 16th overall in a time of 28 miles, 28 hours, excuse me.
And that's a challenging course, correct?
Oh, yes. Yeah. The winner,
name like that.
I think the winner came in at 18:25, Bradley Hawley. And then he also sent me a note on this. Let's see. And yeah, he did some great stuff there too. I think his times came out to something like 100 and the number 112 came up too. So congratulations to him on that. He's had just a stacked calendar,
He has.
Yeah.
Right. So always good to see him out getting that done. So
agreed.
Yeah. So at this point, I wondered, Aaron, did you have anything else you wanted to mention about the race that we haven't talked about yet?
This was great. Thanks for having me on. The tower race was tower tag race was a lot of fun. Really glad I could do it. Looking forward to next year. Maybe there'll be less snow.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
I imagine that it's good training for people that are doing
Western states.
Well, yeah, that too. Well, actually, that would probably be a better example than the example
The
I was gonna give.
Iditarod.
No.
Sorry.
Lila was talking about she was using it for training for something, and
for, Mount Washington road race.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's great.
yeah.
It's non-technical. As Brian said, not too steep, but you're always going up.
There were a lot of dogs on course too, which
There were a lot of dogs on course.
selling point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to pet a lot of dogs.
You get the hikers they're hiking up and they ask you what you're doing and you tell them you're going up for your 10th time. It's that kind of fun because they're
Yeah.
oh, you're doing this 10 times?
Why?
How long is this marathon?
Right. How long is this marathon? Right. So no, that was a great race. I like all of Brian's races, but I'm not super good at the real technical stuff. So this is one reason this one appealed to me because
you're not coming to the one in March.
You really know how to sell it. Only if you can go down the face.
You don't want to go down the face.
No, I know.
Oh, it's brutal.
I like the one that we just did is more my style, where you're just kind of maybe the biggest challenge is the time and the climbing.
Now, Aaron, you weren't at the Schaghticoke mile, right?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. All right.
Is that
I just
the one
wondered.
where you started out as trying to beat someone's Strava segment?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. And it's just like a real technical.
It's not
a mile though.
It's only a mile.
Mile 4 on the Connecticut AT.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, every year I remember when we used to. Yeah, Brian would invite me to that, and there was always something. I forget what time of year you do it.
You're smart.
I'm a smart one.
You
Yeah,
had to wash your hair that day.
Oh, you had to wash my hair that day. Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't. But I almost threw up on the course. So I almost DNF'd.
That is a funny story.
A DNF a miler.
Yeah. That is a funny story that somebody had set the Strava segment or seat course record on that, and then Brian invites everybody he can.
Well, the guy who set the segment record, it was a friend of mine, John McElroy.
Yeah, John, that's what I thought. So he didn't know you were doing it, and you invite everybody to go try to beat it.
No, I told him.
Yeah.
I just knew I was in trouble in that because we're all down at the bottom and we're like, oh, let's go do a warm up. Okay, yeah. So I'm like running with people. And one guy's saying, oh, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, I just ran New York last weekend. Oh, yeah, how'd it go? Oh, it sucks so bad. I fell apart. I had the fucking worst race of my life, a fucking 2:45.
Right. Nice.
And I was like, oh, shit. Oh, God, because that had like Scott Greger and.
Yeah,
like,
I know Scott.
Oh, my God. Like everybody seemed like
James Boating ran one year too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But it was amazing to, just to be there. So
yeah.
Very good. So Brian, and that new race sounds like sounds really cool at Sleeping Giant. So looking forward to that, and we appreciate the scoop here. So okay.
Yeah.
Becky and Celeste, any closing arguments?
Nope. My family interrupted you guys with their yelling. I apologize because I play video games.
So it goes. It goes.
Well, hopefully I'll see you, Aaron, at some races in the coming year. I have not. I haven't signed up for any yet. I've been doing a lot of looking.
Sign up for Lake Warmong again.
And, I'll be there.
Good.
Yeah, we usually do the aid station. Now we have the Cultra aid station.
Okay.
Where we
and I babysit all the volunteers for.
Yeah, they have a sadistic aid station.
Okay.
That's right. You start out the race and you come up and there's the special Cultra reach around where you go around the cone.
Okay.
And
yep.
It's a very inappropriate aid station.
It's fun.
And it's not even my fault because I'm usually the inappropriate one.
Yeah. It's fun. You might come, you might stop at our aid station and never leave.
It sounds like it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We might encourage it.
Yeah.
Look forward to.
All right. Well, for all of our listeners out there, first of all, I want to thank all of our Patreon listeners out there. Got to see a lot of Patreons at, at this event, at the wildfire event.
Yeah.
So thank you again to you guys for making our involvement with that possible and for making our podcast possible. As you've noticed, if this is the first episode you've ever listened to, you didn't hear us start out by talking about our good friends at Monkey Butt Butter or
I
Trail
love monkey butt butter.
Monkey Butt Butter is the best. And those people are so fucking cool too. We're developing our own monkey butt butter.
Ew.
It's the only thing that is also, it's not only like a lubricant, it's also a fuel source.
Right.
So, so you can just use it as lube. And then if you need that extra bit of energy, it's always with you.
Art.
But we don't accept money from them. We only take money from our listeners. So if you're interested in becoming a Patreon, you can certainly sign up and we would be very grateful for that. So
yes.
So I guess also for all of our listeners out there, if you've made it this far, of course, seek professional help. And we will see you all in a mile.
Mile and a half.
All right. Excellent.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. It was great.
Art.
It was great.
You're always great to have you here, Brian. Aaron, you're so much fun. We needed a good episode. Our listeners, our last episode was the fucking
dumpster fire.
Oh my God, it was Brian, you didn't listen to it, did you? Or no?
I did already, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I literally the whole time I just kept putting my head down laughing.
It was
my face was like beet red.
It was like, I'm not here, not in the car, not my podcast. No, we had just our guest got incredibly drunk.
Oh man, yeah, gosh.
Like fucking just like bizarrely drunk. It was just really bad.
Oh geez.
And I didn't have the sense to just pull the plug. So
who was the guest? Who was the guest again? I don't remember.
Oh, it was our good friends Christine Chinhing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And Michael Longevity. So
who are like two awesome,
lovely,
people.
They're the best.
They're pretty high energy even without alcohol, I think.
Yeah,
they are. And
bourbon.
It's all funny if you have the visual, but I mean, I can only imagine like her flexing, them spending time flexing to the camera going, look at my muscle, look at my muscle. Like, that's not good podcast, I don't think, Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't looked
how
at the
often
numbers.
she did. I would say by the last 10 minutes, she was flexing like once per minute.
I think so.
You should release that episode on YouTube.
Yeah,
that would actually be pretty funny.
The visual,
Brian, we're fucking
just
doing
mute it, and people can just watch, but they won't actually hear. That could be a win-win.
It could be. It could be. So. before we start though, Aaron, is there anything that you don't want to talk about, like, you know, witness protection or
let's
your
avoid
job
politics, but if otherwise, no, just
fair enough. We can do that.
I love talking about politics.
Yeah,
no, anything's fair game.
Okay, as long as it's if it's
you're gonna
religious
regret
politics.
that.
Religious politics.
Yeah, religious. Let's talk about religion and politics.
That's right. Yes.
Awesome.